Boy, oh boy, do we have a story to share with you all. We have been gone for a week from the channel because we went on our 7th or 8th Hot Rod Power Tour together. My dad and I, we started this back before I even had my driver's license, driving across the country on what people say is the world's largest traveling car show here in the United States of America. Every single year, if you're not familiar with the Power Tour, Motor Trend puts on this show where it's a different state every single day, or a different city every single day, whether it's a fairgrounds, whether it's a drag strip, whether it's a NASCAR track. You drive as a group on 2-lane back roads to each destination. My dad started this tradition with me before I even had my driver's license. Super cool experience. And this last year, we just had the most eventful trip that we have ever had, hands down, because of a C5 Corvette Z06.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So Austin and I have had this journey together for many years, like he said. And 3 years ago now, we invited a friend for the first time, and we took that journey in a 4-door Corvette, a CTSV, first generation.
Yeah, what an amazing car that was.
And he had so much fun, our friend, that the next year, Austin sold a CTSV and bought a Z06, the one that's behind us.
Yep.
And our friend also bought a C5 Z06.
So we had matching cars on the tour. The following years when we did that, 2 C5 Z06s from Minnesota. We did about 4,300 miles that year.
Absolutely incredible.
Literally 4,300 miles in 7 days.
And these are cars that we're talking about. The Corvette, that, like, I had the biggest stereotype for the longest time. Everyone has one. They're so lame. Why would anyone want one?
Yep.
Like, just
which
like
I grew up into.
Right. Like the same thinking that so many people have. But the fact of the matter is you get behind the wheel of one and you start cramming gears. I've had one myself, and it's such a good time. Like, it's hard not to enjoy what the Corvette has to offer, especially the ones we're talking about that are cammed out a little bit. And tuned up just to add to the experience. So this year in particular, Bowling Green was our first city, our first stop that we were going to, and there's 3 vehicles involved.
Yeah, so just before you talk about Bowling Green, I wanted to talk about our journey to Bowling Green. So we started this trip anticipating that something was going to break on my friend's 2003, I believe it is, Chevy Silverado step side single cab short box with a 4.8 and a big old turbo on it.
Big turbo.
Check this thing out.
Austin, the first thing I will mention about the Silverado is the fact that it is built, not bought, which that's absolutely cool. I will say, first off, you know a little more about this, so I'll let you cut loose here, but I am greatly enjoying the Escalade interior that was put into the Silverado after getting out of your C5.
Yeah, the C5 is a little bit rowdy and a little bit rough on the road compared to this Silverado here. And one of the reasons why this Silverado is not rough on the road is he actually ripped out the rear leaf spring suspension, chopped up the rear frame of this vehicle, and made a notch in the whole frame, actually, so it can run a rear coilover setup. So it's got a set of QA1 coilovers in back, QA1 coilovers up front. This thing is absolutely slammed.
Independent suspension on all 4 corners. It's pretty cool.
And it handles really, really well, actually. It's pretty impressive.
And it stops well, too.
It does, yeah. It has C6 ZR1 front brakes, still rocking the factory back brakes. But this thing does stop in a hurry. It has amazing brake pedal feel. It handles amazing. It sounds great. It's comfortable. It's got 800 pounds of stuff for us to go camping and hang out the next week here. We got a grill, we got clothes, we got all types of backup tools loaded into this thing's bed, which just makes it 10 times cooler that it's able to carry all this stuff and smoke these Corvettes in a straight line.
Yeah,
which
very
is pretty
true.
unique. Now, what this truck is attached to is a 4L80E that my buddy had built, actually, to a limited slip rear end that he just put in before the trip. And then the only thing that's still stock on this truck is the 4.8 liter V8, which I believe he's on his second or third 4.8 now. He likes to keep blowing them up, apparently, with that massive turbo that he has on there. It is his goal, once he saves up enough money, to build a 6.0 and swap it in. But
Heck yeah.
as for now, this thing's very impressive as it
is.
sits.
Yeah, and even when the lights go down and you like turn on the Starlight headliner that he did himself, this thing looks so cool cruising down the road. It has an amazing stance. It's almost like scary low because it's a static suspension, right?
Yeah.
So it's low, but it ain't slow.
As he was already on his third motor, we were highly anticipating something major going on with this. However, he just put a brand new rear end in it because some of the gears were all chopped up. It has a brand new $7,000 built 4L80E in it that can handle all types of power. That's a super reliable transmission. And that was hooked up to his now third 4.8 V8, which is what we were most concerned about, is that engine lasting the entire trip, pushing around 19 pounds of boost through it. So we were a little bit scared, assuming that we were going to be potentially doing an engine swap on this trip.
And prepared for it, right? We had all the tools that were needed, a grill just in case we had to eat while we were swapping this motor. So we had all the necessities to take on the journey. We get to our first hotel night in Iowa. Iowa City, and on the way there, the drive to the venue is fun when you're with your friends as well, because you stop at gas stations.
I mean, our first drive there was incredible.
It was a beautiful evening.
Candy skies.
Yeah.
Over my buddy's truck, his silver matte wrap, these cotton candy skies just glistening over this super cool silver color, the Corvette calipers shining through his chrome niche wheels, my carbon fiber just shining in the sun. What an amazing experience it was driving there with the three of us together. A lot of times 3 wide, 2 wide, single lane. It was such a cool experience getting to the venue that first day.
Yeah, it was. So leave Iowa and we make our way to Bowling Green. Got there a little later than expected because our first issue that we came across is we discovered that our friend's red C5 Z06 actually had a tire on it that was 20 years old.
2004, that tire's almost the same age as me.
Right, so he had 3 like good, nice Pilot Sport 4S's, but then he had like this random that he didn't realize, like Pilot Sport, I don't even know, like 1S, or maybe before there was even, it was just a Michelin Pilot Sport.
It was old.
The date code on it was 2004. So I was determined for him to replace that tire because I just had visions of it doing cartwheels down the road and it exploding at any moment. So we randomly find the tire on Marketplace. Some awesome gentleman out of St. Louis just had 2 for sale, and he was willing to sell us 1. He had a brand new Michelin Pilot Sport 4S that I think he sold it to us for like 120 bucks.
Off of his Miata. They were his Miata takeoff.
Not Miata, I think it was an Integra. He just happened to have a Miata in the driveway.
Okay,
but yeah. Anyways, he sold it to us. It was a brand new tire. He sold the car and didn't need it. And we were then on the mission to find someone to mount it. And we didn't find anyone that way. So we still continued on to Bowling Green with the 20-year-old tire. No issues, thank God. But that was our mission, like day one, is get that tire mounted.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We still managed to get the car up well up to the speed limit with that 20-year-old tire on it.
It was still able to be the fastest car on the trip somehow.
Yeah.
Right? So anyways, we get the tire mounted, like check 1 off the list, nothing else to worry about. We have the first day of the venue, and the venue is absolutely gorgeous. Austin and I have been here before. They have drag strip and autocross set up, and we had the opportunity to do some drags, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Because we found out a few things. The big turbo Silverado and your black Z5 Z06, very clean, good race, essentially the exact same speed.
Yeah, super, super fun. That my buddy has built his Silverado from the ground up, basically, and I obviously didn't build this car from the ground up, but I mean, I don't even want to know how many hours of labor into turning this car into what it is today. And seeing us being able to line up 2 best friends and go down the strip together and then be dead even at that close of a race is a really cool experience.
Yeah, both got like 13.1. I think even the trap speeds were like pretty much dead on.
It was such a good race. You got to watch it.
So then it's the red Z06's turn, and our friend takes it down the strip and has the fastest time. He runs like a 12.9 at 114 or something like that.
Yeah,
screaming.
So this
very clean. It was fun to watch.
This really blew my mind because this car and that car are pretty much identically built. They both are just cam and valve train basically, However, his has a different rear end in it. He has the 410 rear diff from
Right.
RPM, where I just have the factory Z06 rear diff in this. And it is unbelievable how much of a difference that 410 rear gear makes.
Yeah, it turns absolutely rowdy, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But so he runs the 12.
12.7.
12.9.
Oh, yeah, you run 12.9.
I run a 12.7, so I had to make sure I was the fastest driver.
You were
just to be
at
clear.
115?
115, I think, is what it was.
That's moving. That's a good time.
Yeah, it's a good time for pretty much an almost stock, and it's not almost stock. He's got an RPM Stage 4 transmission, the RPM Stage 4 diff.
Yeah, you can't say it's stock. Just in the transmission of the diff alone, there's probably 14 grand worth of stuff.
Yeah, not quite that much, but well-built car, built for doing exactly what we did that day, and all was well. We had a good time, like high fives, everything was great. So,
except for getting out of the venue, that was miserable.
Took forever, and that's part of the gig, right? If you don't have the patience to wait in a line and look at the beautiful cars around you and enjoy the company that you're with, then this isn't for you.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty clear wherever you go. If there's only like 2 lanes to get in, and there's 6,000 cars trying to get into the same spot,
gonna take a minute.
It's gonna take a minute.
So anyways, that's a wrap. Day one. Find the spot to eat. Go on with the night.
Barbecue.
Yeah, I had some. It wasn't amazing. It was
wasn't,
subpar.
but it looked cool.
Looks cool, yeah. The ambiance was there for sure. And this is when the conversation about the leaking rear differential on the red Z06 occurred, where our friend, like, he didn't even tell us in the moment. He's like, he saw a puddle forming under his car, and he knew it was bad news, so he didn't even bring it up to anyone.
Did not, yeah, I had no idea, and all of a sudden we were just talking about the cars a little bit, and he was like, yeah, there's a little puddle under my rear end. I was like, what? Oh, that's kind of a big deal. That's not right, Zen.
Yeah.
I said, you know what? How about you guys deal with pain? We'll sort all the checkout later. I'm gonna go check out your car because we should probably try to address what's leaking as soon as possible before the part stores close tonight.
Yeah, make a quick repair, not a big deal. Part of the journey. Have all the tools ready to go.
It was just a plug leaking or something like that. So of course these Z06s are stupidly low to the ground. You can't see squat just laying under them. So jack the car up in the barbecue pit parking lot, and
one of the fun things is like, these towns are consumed by other car enthusiasts.
They are.
So all it takes is like a jack coming out, and all of a sudden you have like 4 new friends of, how can I help? What are you looking at? Do you need this tool? Do you need that tool?
Yeah, I accidentally farted in front of some new friends.
Yeah, there you go. That probably wasn't the first or only time.
No.
That's my son. Anyways, we get the car jacked up. We start looking at it, and we're like cleaning it up, trying to determine where this drip or leak is coming from.
It was more than a drip. The entire underside and rear bumper of this car, like the rear bumper of the car, was leaking
wet.
fluid.
Like
it was bad. There was fluid everywhere. To which we found out all of that fluid. Well, there was none of it in the rear diff at all.
Yeah,
it was bone dry, and that's because after doing some digging with the flashlight, we found out the rear diff was
actually
into 2 pieces.
Cracked. Yeah,
it was split almost directly into 2 pieces.
Right, and we didn't get the full magnitude of it at first, so it took some time of, well, let's just go get some fluid, or let's go grab some JB Weld quick to see if we can put some bubble gum on it, essentially, and get it to where we're going, or limp it through the rest of the trip. We weren't understanding the magnitude of it at first.
I immediately was freaking out because being familiar with the C5 platform, I haven't had a rear diff issue in my car yet. But I do know that it's bad news. It's very bad news on the C5 because if they run out of fluid, if they run low, stuff gets hot, it welds itself together. And the way that the C5 is set up, it's a transaxle. The transmission's in the back. So the transmission is partly inside of the rear diff. So if the rear diff goes, it'll snap the piece of the transmission that's inside of the rear diff, then blowing a transmission and a diff at the exact same time.
So all of us have these different thoughts going through our head. We've got the guy who owns the car, who's planning on his plane ticket home and how he's going to tow his car home. We have Austin, who's going worst case scenario in his mind. We have our other friend that is essentially diagnosing, ready to rip the thing apart underneath. And then we had myself, who's like trying to figure out the logistics of all this on how we're going to make sense. So all these minds are starting to come together. We're making a few runs to the parts store to make sure we've got fluid in the event we get something figured out. Part stores are closing. So we were like using all of our minds to come together.
Making posts on Facebook, trying to sort parts, trying to figure out.
Does anyone have a rear diff? Does anyone have a mobile welding unit? Just trying to weigh all the different options.
Like, we are 13 hours from our house right now on a car that could potentially blow its transmission and its rear diff at any given time at all. The car is not going to make it home.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, we had a few leads on some possibilities on different diffs. There's one in Maryland, there's one in Atlanta, there's one over in North Carolina that's available, and like none of these are feasible options. We have to get up the next morning and go to our next stop in Nashville, Tennessee, right? Yeah. So it's not even a possibility. So here's where it gets kind of fun, is we make the decision that we're going to fill this diff up with fluid. We'll limp it back about a half hour to our hotel. And in the process, we'll just continue to evaluate our plans. But what we determined, or what we learned, is like my high school shop teacher, his son, who's also now the current high school shop teacher here in a Minneapolis suburb, he was staying at the exact same hotel that we were staying at 30 minutes away from the venue, and we actually had some Mexican food with them the night before. Yeah. So like hung out with them, it was fun, good dudes. He actually flew into Tennessee, to Nashville, and he bought this truck that he had one of his previous students pick out for him, and then he took this truck on the power tour. So he kind of came in cold turkey, and it was fun because we were making all sorts of repairs with them too. They had some leaky hoses, they had some different cooling issues and overheating stuff they were trying to figure out, a transmission line. So they're working through this stuff with them, and we'll talk about that here in a second. So needless to say, we are using the power of Facebook with the group that we're in, the Hot Rod Power Tour group.
Like 43,000 members and a lot of very knowledgeable people. So there were some people that were willing to help. There's people reaching out to other people, trying to sort parts for us. Like, the car community is so amazing, and the Power Tour group is even more amazing because everybody wants everybody to make it, you know?
Yeah, it's very cool. So what ended up happening, Austin's following us in his Corvette back to the hotel.
As my entire windshield's getting covered in rear diff fluid, I'm having trouble even seeing out of my windshield when we're starting to get close because my wipers aren't working because I'm just spreading fluid all over the place.
Right, it was bad news. But while we were in the process of that drive, I'm paying attention to the post. And while we're making this drive, also our other friend in the Silverado's talking to the shop teacher. The shop teacher's talking to his student in Nashville, who actually hosts a TV car show on Power Nation, Carcass. He is hopping in his truck with a trailer, heading from Nashville to Bowling Green, Kentucky.
2-hour drive.
We're talking about like 8:30 at night. This guy just gets in his truck, complete strangers, to come help us.
Never met him once in my life.
Never met us, and he's like, "Yep, I'm on my way." So he's on his way to come start helping us with the truck and trailer in the event we need it. We, on Facebook, have 3 or 4 different opportunities for diffs that are local. So we start vetting those. We get on the phone with those. Hey, what do you got? Where is it from? How many miles are on it? What do you want for it? And we actually end up finding one that is literally 5 minutes away from where the Silverado friend is staged, waiting to see what direction he has to go to get this diff. So it actually turns out to be really well. You get a completely stock Z06 diff, 60,000 miles on it, been sitting in a guy's milk crate in the back of his garage, all dusty. Give him $400 for it. Bada bing, bada boom.
Which is actually a really good deal.
Yeah, dude's still coming from Nashville down to Bowling Green. Like, all the stars are aligning. We're building confidence in our friend that, hey, it's fine, dude. You don't need to book a plane ticket. See, we got all these people that want to help us. Everything's going to work out. We're going to get this figured out. We're going to change this diff out, and we're going to be back on Power Tour.
All of us had all of a sudden a lift of confidence that we were going to finish the Power Tour. We knew that we had this down. We're sitting in the parking lot waiting for him to show up in the truck and trailer. Sitting there talking about ideas, watching videos on how to knock this out on a garage floor. He's starting, our friend that has the Z06, he watched the video and he's like, yeah, we can do this, right?
Yeah.
We can manage to get this done in a day.
And this guy, we're talking about a family physician. Like, that's his profession. So he's not he loves cars and he tinkers on cars, but this is way out of his comfort zone.
He was beyond nervous. Like the biggest job, like for example, he also has like some extreme OCD and like he torques every single bolt down to spec no matter what. I believe it took him, what was it, 4 days to put coilovers on his Corvette.
They are perfect.
They're absolutely perfect. But just an example of how meticulous he is. Like he is not the type to rush through anything, let alone take on a job of this magnitude.
Didn't ask for help, let alone,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like he's not the guy that asks for help.
Oh, he does everything by himself, which is amazing. Love the guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all sitting here, we're feeling confident, and all of a sudden we get the
Message on our group chat comes through.
Message on the group chat comes through from Solomon in the silver truck. My transmission just blew up.
And we just all kind of get quiet. Like, is he joking? Is like, you should have been arriving any minute.
Yeah, like literally, you should have been like 2-3 minutes away. Like, what do you mean your transmission? You're like $7,000 or $8,000 freshly built L80E, just
whatever it was, 4,000 or 6,000. I don't know if it was 7 or 8, but anyways, yeah.
I just lost all gears. Do you have drive? Do you have forward? Do you have first, second, third, fourth, anything? It's like, no. It's like, well, it's got to be a linkage thing, obviously, right?
And then he sends a video to us of him standing up on the median with his truck down on the interstate with the hazards going. And we're like, oh crap, he's not joking.
Yeah, this is very real. We are now 13 hours from home. The Corvette that can't get home, with a truck that can't get home, and the only thing that's left is 2 seats. We have 2 seats to get our everybody home. That's it. Trip's over.
Trip is over.
Like trip,
right?
Trip's
so
over.
this is where people's heads start going again.
So it's like I in my head where I'm going is I'm gonna have to drive one person at a time to Nashville, Tennessee, to get them to the nearest like major airport so we can figure out how to get home. While we have to also figure out how to sort getting these other 2 cars towed home, and then one person doesn't have to pay for a plane ticket because we'll just drive mine home, I guess.
Yep. So he's thinking like, all right, trip's over, let's go home. Our other buddy's thinking he's back in my red Corvette's getting towed home. I'm taking a plane trip home. I'm already texting my wife about that, and the other dude is just beside himself on the side of the road.
Like he just spent an unbelievable amount of money getting the most reliable transmission that he possibly could built for this truck that he intends on being like a 1,000 horsepower truck someday. Like this transmission is built, and he just had cruise control on, went up a hill, downshifted, and exploded.
So here's where we go from here. The guy from Nashville, Jeremy, he shows up with his truck and trailer. The shop teacher shows up on the side of the interstate and takes a tow strap and tows them back to the hotel. So now we are like, this whole new group of friends is reconvening at like 10:30 p.m. in some cave city.
Super ghetto hotel parking lot.
Very clean though. There's like the Red Roof Inn.
Yeah,
and
great.
it's super old, but heck, good on them. They no bed bugs. So let's go Cave City, Red Roof Inn. What's up? So we are convening in the front of their parking lot. Like, all right, how are we doing this? Are we towing the silver truck? Are we towing the red car? Who's going to Nashville? Who's staying here? And just kind of devising the plan on what makes sense. And what we came up with is Corvettes. We got the parts for the Corvette. We feel good about that. Let's put it on the trailer. Let's get we only have 2 good seats at this point. So 4 of the people have to get in this truck and go with the stranger at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy.
Truck and trailer, stranger to Nashville, down some Kentucky interstates into Tennessee, right? And the other guys, our new friends that we've known for like an hour now, are Austin and I's new best friends, Ian and Jeff. They're great guys. And our plan was that in this small city of Cave City, we were going to find, there's 4 storage units, or maybe there's 3. We were going to find a storage unit to put the silver Silverado in the morning. And then we were going to hightail it up to Nashville to help these guys with the differential is what our plan was.
Yeah, and then in Nashville, Jeremy, 2 days prior, just finished swapping a fresh V8 into this, I think, 300,000 mile GMC Sierra.
340,000 miles.
He's like, tell you what. Yeah, he's like, Solomon, tell you what. Let them deal with getting the truck in the storage unit. So that was our plan. That was our mission. I am moving back to Minnesota here soon, so I have put 15 miles on this fresh engine swap with, you know, a 300,000 mile truck. I need you to drive this the rest of the power tour back to Minnesota because I'm going to move there anyway, so it'll be cheaper for you to drive it than to have me to ship it. So everybody, we technically have a pretty solid plan in place.
Yeah, so those guys get to Nashville. Our four friends, the one new friend, get to Nashville at like midnight on Monday night, right?
Yeah.
The first day of our trip. And then Austin and I wake up bright and early, like 6:30 a.m. Tuesday morning, and we start going around to these different storage units and trying to get someone on the phone, like, hey, what's up? Leaving voicemails, knocking on doors, doing that whole bit,
Yep.
and no availability. We get to one that's automated, and we see on their website they have one storage unit available.
Just one, literally just one.
That'll fit a truck, right?
Yep.
It was literally the only storage unit they had, and it just happened to be 10 by 20 foot, which would just squeak the Silverado in there.
Yep.
So we wake up our friend, tell him to book this. He books it online, then we have to wait another hour for them to open up. In the meantime, we go back to the hotel,
Yep.
wake up our other new friends that have the truck that they just bought to take on the power tour, and we get it strapped up, make a plan, and we tow the truck from the hotel to the storage unit, and we kind of set up shop there and just get to know each other until we get the gate code to get in. So we get it in to the storage facility, and his truck is so low
Yeah.
that we actually had to figure out, we kind of had to scavenge hunt around the storage yard to figure out how we could build a ramp to get it over this couple inches of concrete to get the truck into the storage unit.
Yeah, and with the right amount of manpower, managed to get it in there. It wasn't a super easy task, but we did manage to get it in there. Very impressive. Very little room on both sides and a very heavy truck that's very low. Pretty impressive that we managed to lock that truck in there and drive away. And we sat in the bed, had two people up front, went back to our hotel, and from there we started our game plan and what our plan was for the day.
What are we going to do today? But like as we're talking about, they're like, hey, there's a puddle under your truck. And so this is the new truck from Tennessee. And then we realized, like, this is the third time they've tried to fix this transmission leak. So a couple hours was spent on readdressing one of the tranny lines, and we got that figured out. But then we ended up just hanging out with these guys, making our way to Nashville, and it was a fantastic day. It was absolutely grand.
Yeah, I mean, it was to the point where it's like, we should probably just enjoy the trip, especially these two guys. They've never been on the power tour before. They just wanted to hit the route. And ultimately, we already got 4 guys working on this C5 Corvette diff. Like, what more is another 4 guys going to do when we have a Corvette jacked up? Like, where are we even going to fit to all work on this at the same time? So we're like, we're just going to hit the first little leg of the tour. We did a couple hours of the tour. Actually stopped at, I personally don't drink, but we stopped at a really cool,
It was like a distillery, and got like the tour of like the area.
Yeah, it was this super cool distillery, and he was talking like this amazing story about this town,
the history
that
and
we've
dueling.
never even heard of, like literally like a 20-minute story about dueling. Super cool experience, actually. I'm glad that we stopped for that reason.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So that's part of Power Tour again. You just stop at random places, and who knows what story will come up. So we're along the way, we're getting updates from the group working on the red Z06, and it sounds very optimistic. We got the cradle dropped already. We're like, woo, yeah! The exhaust is dropped, so these big milestones are being hit.
Yep.
And we're feeling really good about it. We end up, we want to make sure we get our cards punched. So we have to get our cards punched so we can get our plaque. So we made a point to get to where they're fixing the car, because then it's still another hour to the venue so we can punch our cards. So we get there at like 2, 3 o'clock, and they're at the point that they're just waiting for some seals and start putting stuff back together. Still feeling pretty optimistic, proud of themselves. We're proud of them. We high five, we say good job, and we hightail it back. We're like, we'll see you in a few hours at the hotel, right?
Yep.
And they get to the point that like they're down to putting the exhaust on and just hit a wall. Like it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. They've been at it all day.
Yeah.
Absolutely exhausted. And they end up, like Jeremy steps in and does some cutting for some O2 sensors or something to get it fit back in. But we like pull out of his house. Austin and I end up hightailing it back over to see if we can lend a hand or at least help clean
Yeah.
up. And they end up getting it put back together, like literally as we're pulling in the driveway.
Yeah, so Jeremy, unbelievable guy to allow us group of guys that he's literally never met to use his shop at his beautiful home in Tennessee. Like, could not be more thankful for this guy because he literally just saved our entire cross-country road trip.
Yeah, it's
If it
incredible.
was not for Jeremy and Ian and that amazing group of guys that we randomly met, like just out of the kindness of their hearts, allowed us to use their knowledge, their equipment, their tools, their space. Like people are cool. Like,
Yeah.
Like seriously.
That's what makes like America awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what makes experiences like this awesome. By Wednesday, we were all back into the tour using the truck that Jeremy allowed us to drive. The Corvettes were back at it. It was kind of fun that we actually stopped at RPM on our way back in Indiana. We dropped off the diff.
Yep.
They took it all apart right in front of us, so we got this fun little tour. Got to see how it was cracked, and they kind of explained to us how that happened, which was cool.
And not only that, but they actually have the fastest full body C5 Z06 in the world there.
Yeah.
So we did a full like underbody tour of this thing, and like I was looking under it, I was like, this is not the car that I own.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing
Yeah,
about
it's like a
car.
6-second C5 or something.
6-second manual car, which is just wild. Or no, it's auto now. I think it was auto. I don't know what the heck it was. Man, whatever. It's a 6-second C5 Z06, and just seeing the difference between a 13-second C5 Z06 and a 6-second Z06, like it was. They're not comparable cars anymore.
It's really cool. So anyways, we were able to make memories, have a good trip. We were able to bond. And ultimately, that was our 2024 most amazing Corvette road trip we had ever taken, all because of this guy behind us.